Welcome. As you are welcome here. Visitor, friend, or longtime member, you are welcome here. With little children, or your partner, or alone, we joyfully welcome you here. You are welcome here as a believer or doubter, as joiner or loner. You are welcome here. Feeling a part of us or not, full of energy or not, seeking a vision or a rest. You are welcome to join us as you are. We acknowledge that we are in the Aboriginal territories of the Salish, Nez Perce, Blackfeet, and Anishinaabe people, who shared the Helena Valley as their hunting grounds. The indigenous story of the Helena Valley began long before the arrival of Europeans. We honor those who walked here before us. We honor the path they have shown us in caring for this place for generations to come. We strive for justice and fair relations with their descendants. All right. We're gonna light the chalice.
Good morning. I'm Ken McLean. I think most of you know that, but for those that don't, I am your presenter today. We're a lay-led congregation, in case you're not aware, and we take turns providing a message and putting all the other trappings together. Important trappings, by the way. As Tevye said on Fiddler on the Roof, without tradition, our lives would be as shaky as a fiddler on the roof. So here we go. We'll start with a responsive reading, which is in the Singing the Living Traditions book. It's number 611. And I'll ask you to please read the italics portion as we go through. It's on 2 pages, by the way. I am the self that dwells in the heart of every mortal creature. I am the beginning, the lifespan, and the end of it all. I am the radiant sun among the light givers. I am the mind. I am consciousness in the living. I am death that snatches all. I also am the source of all that shall be born. I am without end. I am the stainer. My face is everywhere. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end in creation. I am the knowledge of things spiritual. I am glory, prosperity, beauty, speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and forgiveness. I am the divine seed of all lives. In this world, nothing animate or inanimate exists without me. I am the strength of the strong. I am the purity of the good. I am the knowledge of the knower. There is no limit to my divine manifestations. Whatever in this world is powerful, beautiful, or glorious, that you may know to have Okay, if you will now please turn to page 36 in the Open Your Heart songbook. And please stand as you're willing and able.
And I'll be leading this song this morning, and actually
Yes.
one of my favorite ways to do this is to simply close your eyes and listen to the words and imagine that you're lying on the ground. So if you'd like to just close your eyes, I will do my best to sing it to you.
Thank you.
Feel free to join along. Like a magnet attracts a pin, the earth attracts us and holds us in. We won't fly off to Venus or Mars, even though we're shooting stars. Lie on the grass and breathe the air. Feel the force that holds you there. You shining star, you soaring song. This is your ground. Here you belong. The days fly by when you're living large, when you're thinking deep and you're taking charge. No matter how high you leap and spin, the planet reels you in. Lie on the grass and breathe the air. Feel the force that holds you there. You shining star, you soaring song. This is your ground. Here you belong. The fish that swim and the birds that fly, the mole in the ground and you and I. The law of gravity holds the dove, but we could call it love. Lie on the grass and breathe the air. Feel the force that holds you there. You shining star, you soaring song. This is your ground. Here you belong. Through days' confusions and night's alarms, we're held in the planet's leafy arms. When I'm too far to reach your hand, you've got a place to stand. Lie on the grass and breathe the air. Feel the force that holds you there. You shining star, you soaring song. This is your ground. Here you belong. You shining star, you soaring song.
Thank you, Judy. It's time now for joys and concerns. This is a time when our fellowship expresses heartfelt joys and concerns. And it's an opportunity to share, or there will be an opportunity to share private joys and concerns toward the end of the service after the recording has stopped. Karen's going to pass a microphone if anyone has a joy or concern they would like to share.
Not at this time. Oh, I see one.
I can't resist. For some blessed reason, I am so happy to be alive in this place, in this time, with each of you. And my joy is so profound and contagious, I'm going to sprinkle it around.
Anyone else?
Mine is both a joy and a concern. Hospice came to our home this week and has taken so much concern and worry from us, but it also brings it home real. So.
I just wanted to say how happy I am to be here after almost 2 years since I was last here. And for those that don't know me, I'm Kelsey's mom and Mara and Sam's grandma. So I dearly love coming and visiting them and visiting you all folks here. So.
Well, besides this great weather, autumn has lasted, and the sun just makes me happy. There was a great art walk on Friday, and it just was so great to see so much of the Helena community out and communing, and to go into the Halter and see all of Christina's family. It was a grand success at the Halter.
I have many joys, but I'll just say one word of concern because I know it's in everyone's hearts. Gaza.
And now we'll have our offering. Sam and Mara, would you be willing to come up and handle plates, please? Thank you both. Thank you for your loving hands, your loving hearts, your And now we'll have the message for all ages. We have Sam and Mara. Everyone else, anyone else is willing to join them up front.
Young at heart.
Okay, we're live. Oh, I can talk pretty loud. So. Okay, this story is called 100 billion trillion stars. And I'll wait for Karen to get ready at the machine. So. Let me tell you a secret. The sun is just a star. It's not a secret anymore, Mara says. There are a lot of people here. And there are maybe 100 billion trillion stars. Circling around our star is a planet that is blue and green. That's us right here. Little ball. Blue because it's covered by 370 billion gallons of water. Green because it's covered in 3 trillion trees. On the other side of the planet, where the sun isn't shining, you can see bright lights like little stars all over its surface. Those lights, those are the lights that come from 2,500,000 cities and towns and villages filled with people. Some even reading books, just like you. 7,500,000,000 people live in those cities and on that planet. But do you want to know another secret? So do 10 quadrillion ants. The strange thing is that 7,500,000,000 humans weigh about the same as 10 quadrillion ants. Isn't that wild? Which is still only a small fraction or portion of the 13 million billion pounds the planet itself weighs. That's heavy enough to make a big dip in space and pull the moon into orbit, where it circles and circles the Earth 240,000 miles away. This dip in force is called gravity. Gravity is also what pulls you back to the ground when you try to jump to the moon. 240,000 miles is about 10 times around the Earth, or almost 420 million ewes. Or dogs, or smallish snakes, or guitars, or baseball bats, lined up head to foot. Now take a deep breath and hold it for 5 seconds. Just do that another 6,307,200 times, and you'll be a year older. Or don't. You'll still be a year older in 31,536,000 seconds anyway. The entire world is filled with crazy numbers, built one on top of the other, making it whole and complete. There are about 1,620 trillion raindrops in an average thunderstorm. The highest wave ever surfed was as tall as a 10-story building. The average person walks something like 100,000 miles in their lifetime, or 5 times around the world. A great white shark has about 300 teeth. You have 20, but will have 32 when you get older. Only 546 people have been in space. The longest a person has spent in space at one time is 437 days. There are probably at least 37 billion rabbits in the world. In the course of an average lifetime, you might eat up to 70 pounds of bugs or more. The tallest building in the world is 2,722 feet. It is in Dubai. By the time you're done reading this book, almost every single number in it will have changed, getting bigger or smaller right before your eyes, even the number of stars. I can tell you one more secret about something you can find somewhere among the 100 billion trillion stars. There is only one of you, right here, right now, reading this book. Thank you for listening. And now our message. I will caution you, it's a bit long. I'm going to do my best to not go over time, and I'm going to try to not talk so fast you can't understand me. But I guess I just must have a lot to say. Thank you for this opportunity to share with you a bit of my journey of discovery about what we could simply call the others. For as long as I can remember, I have believed that there is intelligent life on other planets. I felt certain that they were out there among the stars. I recall standing outside with my grandfather watching satellites traversing the night sky. I don't remember him ever talking about aliens or flying saucers, but he was fascinated by the US space program. He would get up very early to watch manned launches and would track their progress until splashdown in the Pacific Ocean. For me, his enthusiasm was contagious. I kept a scrapbook of newspaper clippings about humans going to space. I also read fiction stories about traveling to the moon and other planets. Around age 10, I saw on television the science fiction movie, The Day the Earth Stood Still. The story of a human-looking ambassador from another world who confronted humans about mankind's warlike tendencies, especially concerning nuclear weapons. In the story, this ambassador represented a group of peace-loving planets, but who also possessed fearsome weapons and an invincible robot army to enforce the peace. None of my family and friends seemed to have the slightest interest in space beings, but I was fascinated with the possibility of life on other worlds. I read what little I could find in my small-town library and in magazines about space travel and flying saucers, what came to be called UFOs, or unidentified flying objects. Sometimes these stories and reports even included alleged encounters with UFO occupants. In 1966, a groundbreaking science fiction television series debuted. It was called Star Trek. I only caught an episode now and then because my dad didn't like the show and thought I shouldn't waste my time on such nonsense. But for the first time, I saw fictionalized human space explorers interacting with a diversity of intelligent extraterrestrial life. Though Star Trek rarely depicted ET coming to Earth, it explored what contact with extraterrestrials might look like. I continued reading accounts of what appeared to be real, extraordinary encounters with extraterrestrial beings. Our government seemed to be investigating these same accounts, but always seemed to reach the conclusion that none of them were proof of extraterrestrial visitation. Explanations of UFO sightings included misidentification of natural phenomena, or terrestrial craft, or even flocks of birds. Close encounters with UFO occupants were dismissed as hoaxes, or the product of mental illnesses such as hallucinations, delusions, or psychoses. None were taken seriously. Witnesses were ridiculed and or threatened, and photographic and other physical evidence was confiscated by the military or by mysterious agents who seemed to operate outside of known government agencies. When intimidation failed, these agents would often tell the witness that what they saw is a matter of national security. Translation, never again speak of what you witnessed. These tactics convinced the overwhelming majority of the public that UFO phenomena were not extraterrestrial in nature. For most people, and for major media, that was explanation enough. As Richard Dolan wrote in his 2012 book, AD After Disclosure, official denial works when a general or leading scientist explains that there is no fire, that the smoke is an illusion. Our natural instinct is to believe, despite what the crazy neighbor thinks, sometimes despite the evidence of our own eyes. We want to believe our authority figures. The subject of extraterrestrials was put on the shelf alongside Bigfoot, ghosts, and the Loch Ness Monster. I continued to believe that at least some UFOs were extraterrestrial craft, piloted by beings from other worlds. Two things happened during my early college years that forever changed the trajectory of my life. First, I became a born-again Christian. Through the influence of a college girlfriend I had a deep crush on. I found myself immersed in beliefs and practices foreign to my youth. Except for my maternal grandmother, my immediate and extended family were what we might now call nuns. That's N-O-N-E-S, not N-U-N-S. I quickly learned that fundamentalist Christian religion had no place for ET, unless you count the heavenly host supposedly residing with God. I couldn't reconcile the Christian belief in salvation and resurrection, which only applied to humans and to this planet we call Earth, with evidence I had found that we are not alone in the universe. My drift away from born-again Christianity began to accelerate. Certainty became less certain. Still, I wasn't any closer to learning the truth about UFOs, aliens, and where I and humanity fit in the big picture. Over and over, my frustration with the absence of full disclosure stalled my interest. I've heard it said that when the student is ready, the teacher will arrive. I was more than ready when an acquaintance of mine who knew of my interest in extraterrestrials introduced me to a Japanese fellow named Eddie, who spoke broken English and attempted to expand my knowledge and awareness of extraterrestrials visiting Earth, about their purpose and their goal of educating humans to prepare humanity to join some kind of a galactic brotherhood. I was just a small-town fellow who was still stuck on learning about the UFO craft, the occupants, their technology, their physiology, i.e. the physical reality of the phenomenon. Eddie suggested I meet a professor at the University of Wyoming who might better answer my questions about ETs. I did just that, and this professor, Dr. R. Leo Sprinkle, Director of Counseling and Testing at the university, quickly became a valuable resource, mentor, and a lifelong friend who forever changed the trajectory of my life yet again. Dr. Sprinkle, Leo, had his own sighting of a flying saucer while a graduate student at the University of Colorado that led him on a lifelong quest to discover the truth about the UFO phenomenon. He investigated sightings and flight characteristics of alleged UFO craft and reports of encounters with UFO occupants. But his real interest was in the message those beings reportedly gave to witnesses. Using regression hypnosis to get at buried or suppressed memories, Leo assisted these experiencers to understand their contact experiences and integrate what they had experienced into their lives. In 1980, Leo hosted the first of many conferences to bring these UFO experiences together with others who claimed similar experiences. These conferences became known as simply contactee conferences. To skeptics, Leo often shared a humorous anecdote about an elderly Irish woman who, when asked whether she believed in ghosts, moaned, "No, but they're there." I attended the second or third conference as an observer because I had never had a UFO sighting or ET contact myself, later becoming a moderator for subsequent conferences. Through Leo, I met many seemingly ordinary people who made extraordinary claims about UFO contact and contact with occupants. I also met many UFO researchers with expertise in investigating all aspects of the UFO phenomenon. The evidence I saw and the veracity of most of the witness accounts I heard provided for me some proof that alien UFOs and UFO occupants were real. Several years after the first contactee conference, a graduate student working with Dr. Sprinkle, June Parnell, did her doctoral dissertation on the personality characteristics of 225 people who claimed to have had UFO experiences. She administered several standard psychological tests, including the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory, to compare the psychological makeup and stability of these experiencers with the general population of American adults. Dr. Parnell's results revealed that the individuals in this study were normal in psychological functioning. Dr. Parnell stated in the findings section of her dissertation, "The participants in the study were honest persons and no overt psychopathology was indicated. They exhibited a high level of psychic energy and a tendency to be questioning authority or to be subject to situational pressures or conflicts. They can be seen as self-sufficient, resourceful, and preferring their own decisions. These characteristics were evident for all participants in the study across each level of each category considered. Mean scores also indicated the following general characteristics among participants: above average intelligence, assertiveness, a tendency to be experimenting thinkers, a tendency toward a reserved attitude, and a tendency toward defensiveness. Dr. Parnell's study could have been front-page news, but alas, the influence of the secret keepers was compelling, persuasive, and intimidating. To my knowledge, no follow-up to this study was ever conducted. I met my wife, Karen, at the University of Wyoming during our time as students there. We dated, but her conservative religious upbringing and values often clashed with my then more liberal spiritual walk. I had told her about my sporadic participation in the Christian faith, which perhaps gave her hope I would come back around. I told her I had reached the conclusion that we are, in fact, co-creators with whatever God is. That seemed to intrigue her. She indulged my interest in UFOs and aliens, met my friend and mentor, Leo, and even attended UFO conferences with me later. Somehow we overcame our religious/spiritual differences and married the summer after we met. As an aside, we were married by Reverend Sally Palmer, a United Church of Christ minister of the church we had begun attending. We became members of that church, and once again, I fell into traditional religious practices. This time, however, I did not shelve the UFO-related interests and my growing awareness of the others. I continued to participate in the contactee conferences, though I was still frustrated that answers about the others' intentions and their interactions with our military and secret government programs were not forthcoming. Leo often expressed the belief that the others and the secret keepers in our own government were slowly releasing information about the UFO phenomenon to ease the public into the truth about UFOs. He called this a leaky embargo. He often said to contactees and enthusiastic investigators who were very eager to have all the answers that if they wanted a good mystery, come on in, the water's fine. I didn't want a good mystery. I wanted answers, now. To expand my personal quest for ultimate answers, I joined the Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON, the best private volunteer UFO research organization I could find. I became Wyoming State Director for MUFON when an opening occurred. I learned a great deal more about the physical phenomenon, flight characteristics, photographic evidence, physical trace evidence, and about government cover-ups and disinformation programs. When Karen and I moved to Montana in 1989 for better employment, I continued my association with MUFON, becoming state director for Montana for a short time. I was in a new job with the state of Montana and had 2 toddler sons to absorb my attention. I did very little UFO investigating and have gradually let my search for ultimate answers take a back seat to family and employment commitments. Karen and I attended the United Church of Christ in Great Falls and even briefly attended a Unitarian church there. I don't recall ever discussing UFOs with any of our church friends and associates. This time, it was me putting the mystery of UFOs and the others on a shelf. While still living in Great Falls, I met Jesse Marcel Jr., son of the Lieutenant Colonel Jesse Marcel Sr., the Air Force officer in charge of retrieving debris from a crashed disc north of Roswell, New Mexico military base in July of 1947. Jesse Marcel Jr. was 10 years old at the time and later described some of the debris his father showed him before bringing it to the military base. Among the items was a small I-beam with symbols and markings on it. He said his father told him later to never again talk about what he had seen, that it was now classified top secret. His father didn't ever talk about the incident again, but near the end of his life, he admonished his son, Jesse Jr., to set the record straight about Roswell. Sometime after seeing the debris his father had shown him in 1947, Jesse Jr. made a replica of the I-beam he recalled handling. Jesse Marcel Jr., who also retired from the United States Air Force as a lieutenant colonel, was a military physician who lived and retired in Helena. Jesse Jr. brought the I-beam replica to a meeting in Helena that I attended. At that meeting, he gave his account of the Roswell incident. He later wrote a book about Roswell titled The Roswell Legacy, published in 2007. He also spoke about Roswell at a 2010 National Press Club event in Washington, D.C., that featured a number of highly credentialed military officers who testified to their knowledge of government involvement with and cover-up of UFOs and extraterrestrials. The Jesse A. Marcel Library, UFO Library south of Helena, opened in 2012 and is named after him. Meeting this highly respected and engaging, down-to-earth, credible UFO witness rekindled my passion to learn the truth about extraterrestrials on Earth. However, those same governmental and social forces that ridicule and shun UFO witnesses and enthusiasts took their toll on me. I became increasingly reluctant to challenge the ruling denial of the reality of extraterrestrial life on Earth. I became a poor evangelist for disclosure. One unsettling gap in my knowledge and awareness of the UFO phenomena remained. I still had no clear idea of what the other's intentions toward humans on planet Earth. I learned that opinions in the research community, the UFO research community, vary widely about the nature of the phenomenon and the intentions of the others. In my years of searching, I found a wealth of evidence for the reality of UFO/ET phenomena, pointing to a strong likelihood that disclosure, or either deliberate or inadvertent, will occur, perhaps within a few decades. But I found no consensus on whether humanity should embrace or fear the others. I guess, like many people that I've discussed ETs with, I said I wanted to know, but perhaps a part of me and of them that resists, even fears change and uncertainty and the unknown, didn't really want and doesn't really want to know the truth. An acquaintance of mine, Joan Bird, in her well-researched and documented book, Montana UFOs and Extraterrestrials, published in 2013, cited a 2007 MSU Billings poll of 400 Montanans that reported 50% of poll respondents did not believe in the existence of UFOs. Joan wrote the following reflection on that 50%. Perhaps the non-believers know, consciously or otherwise, that accepting extraterrestrial visitors as real phenomena means that they must also accept a staggering level of government deception going back at least 65 years. For many, the existence of UFOs may be too challenging to what they believe, whether those beliefs concern religion, government, or the uniqueness of human beings. In explaining entrenched skepticism, the deep commitment that humans have to their personal worldviews may be more powerful than government disinformation. For many years, I, along with Karen, have vacillated between being a Christian, a liberal Christian, and a nun. That's N-O-N-E, not N-U-N. Karen and I found that this Unitarian Universalist fellowship we found this quite by accident when she was hired as their pianist for a time. We had been attending Plymouth Congregational in this same building, but found ourselves increasingly drawn to the covenantal, non-creed-based practices of the Unitarians. We made good friends here and officially joined this fellowship 2 years ago. I learned about the fourth principle, which affirms and promotes a free and responsible search for truth and meaning. That meant to me that I did not have to hide my interest in UFOs and extraterrestrials and pretend that I don't know what I know. The seventh Unitarian principle, respect for the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part, gave me some assurance that this faith community might accept and even embrace all life, whatever it may be and wherever it may come from. What, you may ask, does all of this have to do with this Unitarian Universalist fellowship? It is this: while I do not know exactly when disclosure of the extraterrestrial presence on Earth may happen, what form it will take, what questions it will answer, nor how disruptive to our daily lives it might be, I am certain it will happen. Unless or until it happens, we should continue the important observances, activities, and outreach that define this fellowship as a positive force in this community and beyond. But also, as we strive to be prepared for other potential disruptions and possible threats to our lives and way of life, I think we should add the possibility of disclosure to our preparedness plans. For ideas on what you can do, check out the Disclosure Project at www.disclosureinstitute.org. I suggest to you that disclosure of an extraterrestrial presence on our planet might be far less traumatic than if we were to suddenly lose the internet, or our electrical power grid, or our banking system collapsed. I believe the strength and resilience in the face of overwhelming change and uncertainty lies in the strength of our relationships with one another, in our ability to deftly pivot to recover our footing and regain balance in our lives. This Unitarian, Big Sky Unitarian Universalist Fellowship is for me an important connection when so much around us is threatened in these volatile and uncertain times. I appreciate you all. Thanks for listening.
We will have a moment of reflection.
If you have any reflections or thoughts about today's talk that you would like to share, Karen will come around with the microphone.
Thank you, Ken. It was provocative, and you're making me think of possibilities, and you might just have cracked my knucklehead a little bit more open to possibilities. And I am remembering one of my favorite sayings of Buckminster Fuller, the geodesic dome guy. When he couldn't explain something, he just said, "Something knows something."
Ken, what a beautiful talk, and I'm so delighted that you've brought this subject matter to our congregation. I had a UFO experience in the 70s that I have never forgotten, and it was not with a being, but with a vehicle. And it is completely real to me that there is much that exists beyond our limited cognitive abilities here. So thank you for opening the discussion.
I say thanks too, Ken. It's not very often that I get to say, I've seen a UFO. It was great. It was not scary, and it was pretty friggin' amazing. Where? In the Nevada desert. Driving right outside our truck. We rolled down the window because I thought it was the light from the dashboard because it had kind of a green, like dashboard lights are. So I rolled down the window and it was like, oh no, it's still out there. Rolled the window back up. My partner and I were both in the cab of the truck. And it was really a great experience and not frightening at all, just kind of amazing.
Yeah, thank you. It's really enlightening. And I'm from Minnesota. And in 1965, I took the Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory. And then I ended up working in mental health. And I also administered that test to people who couldn't read and who have other difficulties with it. And so I kind of familiarized myself with how it worked. And it's a statistical based test, which is just ingenious. Thank you, University of Minnesota. And I just wanted to say that I think it's really a useful test and accurate. It was accurate in my case, and I won't go into why that is so, but I found it to be so. And that's a bias, of course. But if we're going to try to test things without bias in this area, the Minnesota Multiphasic is I think it's a leader, and who knows where it's gone since 1965.
Thank you.
It's not lost on me that our fellowship is called the Big Sky Fellowship.
I'm Ken Kaling, and kind of doing a recycle on UU. Gail and I got married in a church in Madison, Wisconsin. All I can think of is you're a little younger than I am, but we were both in that 50s period of TV and the first movies and science fiction. And my brother and I used to go out and stare at the sky because we were sure they were going to come and visit us, you know. And I wonder how many other kids like that, you know, existed. I went on to win the physics prize in my high school in the state science fair that year in Minnesota. And I was the leader and director of a rocket club for our school.
Anyone else? Okay.
Thank you. And now we're on to another reading. And as before, I would ask you, it's on number 614 in the Singing Living Traditions book. It's Native American, and it's called The Sacred Hoop. And again, I would ask you to read after me the italics portion. Then I was standing on the highest mountain of them all. And around beneath me was the whole hoop of the world. And while I stood there, I saw more than I can tell. For I was seeing in the sacred manner of the shape of all things, of the Spirit. And I saw that the sacred hoop of my people was one of many hoops that make one circle, wide as daylight and starlight. To shelter all the children of one mother and one father. And now we have a hymn in this same Singing the Living Tradition hymn book. It's number 297. And Karen will lead us.
And Cheryl will play it through once. Stand if you are able. behind the veiling clouds of night. But every searching eye divines some partial glimmer of its light. The certainty for which we crave, no mortal ones can ever know. Uncharted waters we must brave and face whatever winds may blow. For safe harbor we may long, we must not let our courage fail. And though the winds of doubt blow strong, upon the trackless ocean sail. From honest doubt we shall not flee, nor fetter the inquiring mind. For where the hearts of all are free, a truer faith we there shall find.
And now we'll extinguish our chalice. And if we'll read together, please. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. And now, Cole, we'll stop our recording, and it is time now for any private joys and concerns. Karen, again, will pass the microphone.